Hi, I'm Kristen, and today I'll be talking about protocols for spiritual development. So, this topic has been discussed frequently and widely within experiencer and spiritual circles for many years. What the protocols really are, it's individual to each specific person, but it's different ways of living, existing, having habits that will make you healthier, that will kind of get you more in contact with your higher self, that will be able to develop your psychic gifts like clairvoyance and clairaudience and claircognizance. And as it pertains to specifically experiencers, how you can live in order to make and receive clear contact from non-human intelligence. So this video that I'm making is going to be a little bit different from what I typically do, because I took a lot of like little different clips of things happening in my life and just different ways that I live on kind of a daily basis, that kind of reflect how I have my own protocols and have followed kind of the advice of other people in order to live healthy, be optimistic, and have my mind clear enough that I can receive communications, downloads, messages, whenever they are going to be coming in. So Dr. Diana Pasulka, she spoke about the protocol, I suppose, that she learned from Tyler D. As we now know, that is Tim Taylor from NASA. And so I kind of like just wrote down a quick list of all of the different ways that Tim talked about, ways that you can kind of live better and live more clean, for a healthy life and a more spiritually advanced life. So just quickly, just running down the list, he mentioned to stay away from alcohol and caffeine. Like don't be a big coffee drinker. He said to get lots and lots of sunshine. He said to stay hydrated, exercise, meditate. He said that you should have a set space that might be considered inspirational or just like very comfortable, that you continuously go to in order to make and receive contact. Um, he said that you would also benefit from being around similar like-minded people, and by getting as much sleep as you possibly can. And so Tim Taylor like famously told Diana that he will force himself to kind of sleep. And so even if he's gotten 8 hours of sleep, he will try to make himself go back to sleep again for another half an hour, because it seems like it's in that state that between being awake and then going back into sleep, you're more likely to go back into REM sleep. And that's kind of like where like the paranormal state kind of lives, within the dream state. It's like once you go in, you can quickly start receiving communications. Yeah, so it does seem like even on the internet, when you hear other people talking about, well, how is it that you kind of exist in order to um, be an experiencer that receives regular, healthy, non-negative contact? A lot of people do focus on like staying hydrated, sleeping a ton, meditating. Like those seem to be the really big ones. Um, but I will get into kind of like what I do or what I try to do as frequently as possible now. So it is winter right now, so I am not going out as often as I typically do in the other seasons. But any day that it is really sunny, and especially if it's warm outside, I do try to get outside and spend time soaking in the morning sun. I know that there are positive neurological effects to kind of taking sunlight in, and it actually positively affects the brain. And it has such a huge impact on the mood that I have throughout the day. And I suppose it sets up the day for being like really happy and positive. So yeah, I live right next to a lake, and so typically after I drop my kids off at school, I will go park and walk down to the lake and kind of take it all in. And so as you can see here, there is a lot of ice that is still on the ground. Some days it's melting, and then other nights it's getting really cold and freezing again. This morning it was about 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and so I was out there and just really looking at everything and noticing all the little details. So the ice was really pretty. I really liked how it was kind of like smooth out on top and super reflective. But when it is not winter, I'll typically go to the lake and I will kind of take my shoes off and I will walk into the water, and there's like a lot of like little tiny fish that are in there. And so I'll kind of walk around looking at them, and there's like little tiny rocks and pieces of quartz and sandstone and stuff like that. And there's clay inside the lake, so I will be really focused on kind of just being appreciative of that and being grateful that I live in such a beautiful place with all these beautiful little pieces of natural life. And yeah, it's really worth soaking in everything that you have around you, no matter what the landscape is, just kind of finding anything that you can find to be appreciative. And so this is a local trail system that I have. And so especially again, if it's warm weather in the spring or the summer, beginning of fall, I will go from the lake over to these trails. And so here I am, I'm walking through the forest, and I'm really just taking in, like, especially like the beautiful sunlight and the way that it's coming in. And since that sun is still coming in, I'm still getting those kind of positive brain effects from it. And it's worth mentioning that you should not be wearing sunglasses in the morning. So typically, between sunrise and 10 a.m., like those are like the best possible hours of sunlight for the day. The way that the UV radiation comes in, you're less likely to get burned. You're less likely to have a negative impact on the actual eye. And so, yeah, I make a point to not wear sunglasses when I'm walking around in the morning. And so here connected to my trail system is a cemetery. And this is a place where I go to just kind of walk and feel calm and peaceful. I'm not creeped out by cemeteries at all. I would come here and just keep my mind completely open and blank, and occasionally, like, I will hear like a tiny small voice telling me something. Otherwise, I just kind of reflect on mortality and, again, how grateful I am to still be here and still be alive. I mean, I typically go over to this little area first because there is a small baby who passed away, and the father passed away, I think, within 2 or 3 days of the baby passing. Totally different circumstances, and even though the dad was young. And so I reflect on that a lot, of just, you never know what can happen in your life, and just to be really appreciative of what you have and that you're still here. And so here I am walking through another kind of alley walkway area. I think cars can drive in here, of the cemetery, and appreciating just how much their life has been lived in this area, how many people have kind of contributed to my town. Whenever I'm here, it's always kind of like in a positive, upbeat mindset that I have. And I also think it's like really nice to see all of the kind of gravestones and how much work and care went into a lot of those older stones to remember people. Okay, and so this is walking back out of the trail system that connected to the cemetery. And I typically try to make a point to look up. And so as somebody that has contact with UFOs, UAPs, orbs, you never know when you're going to see something in the sky. So I'm looking up to see if there's any kind of like flashes or anything moving by that's strange, any again, orbs, discs. But yeah, I typically get just flashes of light that come from high up, from nowhere, nothing. There's no planes. But it's also really nice and beautiful to kind of acknowledge what we don't typically look at, like all of the branches and the trees above us. Okay, and so I have gotten back home, and I am starting to chop some firewood. So I have a wood stove. Again, as I mentioned, it was about 20 degrees this morning, very cold. And so I absolutely love dealing with the wood. I don't so much love being cold in my barn, but I love like cutting wood because it's so it's tactile, and it's so like rooted into like just the natural world. And of course, this kind of cuts back to the idea of like chop wood, carry water. So if you're getting like too kind of caught up in your own thoughts and different things that might be happening in your life that are inconsequential or kind of more philosophical, it's like you always have to kind of remember, well, there's things that have to be done throughout the day. Like I need heat for my home, and it's worth like kind of focusing on just what you have in front of you and what needs to be done in order to live a healthy kind of normal life. And here I'm going to be showing you kind of my normal diet. So I like to focus on local foods. That's local mustard, and eating fruits and vegetables and vegetarian kind of proteins. So this is lettuce that was grown in my state of Maine. I try to buy living lettuce for my sandwiches, my wraps, whenever I can, just because it feels more fresh or tastes more fresh and healthy. Always making a point to have greens as part of my daily diet. So that is marinated tofu. You've got some tofurkey here. I know a lot of people say it's too processed, but I really enjoy it, and it's a good replacement for turkey. I've been focusing on buying the Pepperidge Farm breads because they have much lower levels of glyphosate than even organic bread, strangely. So you got organic apples, Mineola oranges, which are, I think, like spliced between grapefruit and orange, which are really good. We have carrots that, again, I put in my sandwiches. And then those are snacking carrots that are organic, like all different colors, like rainbow carrots. Yeah. And so that is some local bulk bought popcorn that I had there. And this is peanut butter from Massachusetts, which is really good. Maple syrup cotton candy, which is also like local to New England. I have here some like little organic fruit gummies that I give to my kids. All the Pacific Foods soups are really good. And then I have just like kind of natural, simple water additives that are strawberry lemonade. Getting to kind of my baking supplies, I have like gluten-free, natural, organic ingredients as often as I possibly can when I'm baking. Different types of teas. So I have English tea. Green bag is Irish tea for my friends. They probably would have told me to throw that away by now because it's kind of old. And Marks and Spencer tea, all really good. And in here, my brother recently got me some kind of imported from Italy 00 flour, which has been amazing for making pizza dough, any kind of like dough that I'd be using. All right, and so this is kind of like what I use before meditation or going into meditation. So that's kind of like a sleep balm. It's just a lavender balm. I find it's just really relaxing and nice to have that scent as I'm going into a meditation. And then that is an eye mask that I typically use. Okay, so this is how I meditate every day. So I typically meditate during the daytime, but try to get in some meditation at night as well. Because it is really bright and I don't have blackout curtains. I wear this kind of like eye mask, and I try to meditate for about 30 minutes. And so I start by meditating with the Lord's Prayer, and then I kind of breathe in light, breathe out smoke. And from there, I just kind of try to keep my mind as still as possible to receive whatever kind of contact that I can. So typically I'll start seeing phosphenes and I'll see bands moving across my field of vision. They might start to form patterns or kind of shapes in the center. And typically after the phosphenes have died down a bit is when I will start receiving like what is typically clairvoyant imagery. Depending on the day, the imagery will also go with some kind of claircognizance, I suppose. And yeah, I find it like really relaxing to do this every day. And these are some books that I also find to be like really helpful and grounding and centering for just like everyday reading. So I keep these at my bedside. So we have Robert Monroe's Far Journeys book, and that's all kind of about astral projection, getting out of the body. And next to it is Neville Goddard. I absolutely love his lectures. I love his books. It's all about manifestation and kind of how you can take quotes and points from the Bible metaphorically in order to kind of live a more spiritual life, a life that is like what you actually want to be creating for yourself. And then I also have here the Jesus-centered Bible. I don't typically read the Old Testament. It just doesn't really resonate with me. So I got this special type of Bible that focuses on like what is said about Jesus explicitly, primarily in the New Testament, and all the red text is what Jesus said, like outright. Those are his actual quotes. And so I find it really helpful to just be able to scan for the red pages to see what he said. And this is just like some of the books that I've collected that are more spiritual in nature that I'm trying to kind of focus on. And then going down a little bit more, I have like gardening books. And so again, it's worth staying grounded and being like really kind of connected to the earth and just this normal life that we're kind of living. Then we've got, like some Graham Hancock there. And we have some more books on like kind of being out of body, extraterrestrials. These kind of survival books are about, again, grounding, being able to work with the earth and the land. So I hope you found all of that interesting. Some other habits that I have that I didn't mention in this video relate to being really present with the people that you're around. So I have children, and I try to give them my full attention and presence whenever they're speaking to me or they want to show me something. So I believe like very heavily in mindfulness, just being really aware of your surroundings and what's going on. And that mindfulness also kind of extends into how I live my just regular everyday life while doing chores and while doing errands. So there will be plenty of times that I will be washing dishes or I'll be doing laundry, and I won't have the TV on. I won't have any music on. I will just be doing it in silence. And that is done with the purpose of kind of just being able to like really focus on just like these simplicities of life. And also to just really have a really clear head in case there is some kind of spirit or non-human intelligence that would like to bring in a message, that I'm able and capable of hearing it. And it's really funny that while I was actually recording this part of the video, I had to stop and restart because it seems that there is some spirit or non-human intelligence that is in the room with me right now, because my son has like this like little toy like plushy burger, and when you touch it, move it, tap it, or anything like that, it starts to play like a little song. And so while I was sitting here speaking, this little burger plushie, it's on the other side of the room, not being touched, just sitting all by itself, it just started playing music. So it just kind of goes to show that you never really know when you will start to receive contact, and you should always kind of be in this mindset of being open and receptive to it coming in, and kind of like really waiting for it and hearing it, and um, never kind of like really shutting it down unless it is malevolent or bad. It's like if somebody is trying to contact you and like you're not actively doing something else, it's like super important. Like if you can take the time to put aside whatever it is that you're doing in the moment, if there is a communication coming in, it's good to do that. So yeah, I don't think there's any other major thoughts that I've had about like kind of living healthy. But if there's anything in particular that you do that you feel is super important in order to receive contact and receive it in a healthy way and to be thinking in a really kind of healthy, positive way throughout the day, please let me know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.